Now, these are devastating and truly horrific allegations.
Recently, Ghislaine Maxwell, the notorious figure at the center of the Jeffrey Epstein web, has suddenly spoken from behind bars. And just a few words were enough to suffocate the room. Madrid 2002, Soho House. And Meghan Markle. A source close to the legal team says the message was sent straight to a tabloid reporter who lives off drama, the kind people swear they hate, yet can't stop devouring. Immediately, every spear swung toward Meghan. A so-called witness surfaced, claiming he knows what really went down in Madrid in 2002. Firm, graphic, drenched in sleaze and flesh. More than enough to spark suspicion without a single stamped document. Then Virginia Giuffre, who has alleged Andrew forced her into sex, dropped a line like ice after warning Meghan about her ties to Andrew. Meghan Markle is a mentally deranged woman with the most calculating mind I've ever seen. And in Montecito, Meghan panicked hard, pale, shaking, like she was being strangled inside her own home. So is Maxwell just playing dirty or holding the key to a door Meghan has kept locked for 20 years? If Meghan's innocent, why does she look like someone who knows she's about to be unmasked? Don't leave the screen, because the truth you've been told isn't what really happened. In 2025, the world was still spinning in the same tired old scandals that never quite cooled off, when suddenly, a bombshell article detonated like a slow-burning fuse. It wasn't some gritty investigative piece. No, this was a glossy, over-polished social investigation that crowned Meghan Markle as the living icon of self-reinvention. She was painted as this brave woman who strode out of those shadowy rooms of power to become the ultimate symbol of autonomy, independence, and feminine strength. Just reading it reeked of hired PR, a multi-million-dollar campaign designed to buff her image and turn her messy past into an inspirational fairy tale. But that article, with its flowery prose and meticulously photoshopped photos, pissed off someone nobody expected. Ghislaine Maxwell. Deep inside the prison where she's rotting for her crimes tied to Jeffrey Epstein's dark web of power, Maxwell felt erased from history. The piece seemed to deliberately skip over her, sealing her away as some forgotten shadow. And Maxwell, with her razor-sharp memory and undiluted venom, knew Meghan Markle's real face better than anyone. She knew the secrets the public only whispered about, those long nights in Madrid 2002 that Meghan had buried under layers of curated gloss. In prison, Maxwell had nothing left to lose. Freedom? Gone. Status? Gone. Her entire network of influence? Dust. The only thing she still owned was the right to tell the story. Her version, on her terms. She didn't go for splashy TV exclusives or noisy lawsuits. No, Maxwell chose something far more elegant, far more lethal. A short letter, routed through her lawyer, sent to a journalist famous for publishing the kind of stories people hate but can't stop reading. The letter was written like a thin, deadly blade, no wasted words. In the letter, Maxwell wrote in that flat, ice-cold tone, "I've known her for a very long time, long before the public ever heard the name Meghan Markle. I clearly remember that young girl in Madrid 2002. Not the diligent student her official bio claims, but the one willing to walk through any door, no matter how dark the room on the other side." And she ended with a line that made spines freeze. "Those nights at Soho House never really end, do they, Meghan?" That was it. Nothing more. No long explanations, no concrete evidence. Just Soho House. The name alone, conjuring private clubs, hush-hush parties where the elite gather, and where the darkest secrets stay buried. Maxwell speaking from behind bars instantly became seismic. Meghan haters lost their minds in ecstasy. Finally, someone dared rip off the saintly mask she'd spent years gluing on. The questions came thick and fast, still unanswered. Why now, after all these years of silence? And most importantly, what does Maxwell want by dragging Meghan into this nightmare from inside a prison cell? The internet exploded. Forums overflowed with theories. Some saw it as Maxwell's revenge, yanking Meghan into the mud. Others saw a chance to reopen Meghan's past, a past she'd rewritten on her own terms. Showbiz commentators started digging, hunting for any thread linking Meghan to the Epstein-Maxwell web. And from her cell, Maxwell smiled. With one letter, she'd unleashed a storm Meghan couldn't control. Even locked up, Maxwell proved she's still a master manipulator. All she had to do was speak, and the world instantly assumed there must be something. She didn't need proof right away. She only needed to plant the seed of doubt, and that seed sprouted fast, turning 2025 into the year Meghan's past got ripped wide open again. The news of Maxwell's letter spread faster than a California wildfire on crack. No multi-million-dollar crisis team required. Just one thin sheet of prison notepaper was enough to set the whole planet on fire. In Montecito, that golden-lit, multi-million-dollar mansion suddenly turned into a transparent cage, and Meghan was the wild animal pacing inside it. She got the alert through a barrage of frantic back-to-back calls from her PR army, people who usually live to buff her halo, but now sounded like they were 1 second away from bursting into tears. First, it was just a dry 2-line text. Maxwell spoke. Then the full summary popped up on her phone screen like a guillotine blade. Madrid 2002, Soho House. You know me. Just a handful of words, but each one detonated like a landmine inside her skull, freezing her solid face, draining whiter than printer paper. She didn't scream in front of cameras. No, she's way too smart, way too calculating for that amateur hour bullshit. Instead, she bolted straight into her home office, slammed the door, locked it, and only then did the meltdown begin, screaming, smashing, destroying everything in that sealed-off room. In those first insane hours, her head assistant had no choice but to call Harry, who was literally in the same house in Montecito. But Meghan shoved everyone out and triple-locked the door again. A therapist she'd been paying top dollar to for years was emergency rushed to the mansion. Not because she's fragile, hell no. This is the woman who refuses to let anyone else hold the pen that writes her life story. She spent more than a decade building the invincible, self-redefined heroine armor, and one single letter from a prison cell was enough to make the whole thing crack like cheap glass. Right when the chaos was at its peak, an ex-staffer who used to chaperone those depraved billionaire getaways and had front-row seats to Meghan's own private events, decided the time for silence was over. This guy had absolutely nothing left to lose. Maybe he got fired for knowing too much. Maybe he was just sick of choking on her secrets. So he spilled every stomach-churning detail about those Madrid 2002 nights Meghan has always airbrushed as studying abroad, as if it was some wholesome semester of libraries and lectures instead of a non-stop parade of filthy debauchery. It wasn't networking. It was a red velvet-lined cage where power flexed its muscles through the cruelest unspoken rules. Young things like Meghan had to sneak in through service entrances, ducking the prying eyes of anyone outside, like thieves slipping into a forbidden kingdom. Phones got confiscated into a locked metal box for politeness, but really to make damn sure nothing ever got recorded. No proof ever escaped into the real world. Inside, the air was thick as wet cement, sticky, suffocating, booze pouring over the floor like tap water, fake laughter echoing louder than it had any right to. Bodies pressed so close, the concept of personal space was a cruel joke. Hot breath mixing with $1,000 perfume and fresh sweat. The kids were arranged like disposable toys. Who you sat next to, which corner you stood in, when you were allowed to smile, when you had to open your mouth. Everything pre-orchestrated by whoever was running the show that night. Some got dragged forward to introduce themselves, which really meant getting stripped bare layer by layer, forced to confess first times, heartbreaks, who they'd blown for a callback, whole room howling, tears of laughter streaming, applause like they just watched a free peep show. Then came the main course, rules laid down by whoever had the fattest wallet in the room, smirking like he was flipping through a secret catalog of high-end merchandise. Drinks overflowed, boundaries dissolved, who got to touch whom, who got dragged into a dark corner, who had to drop to their knees to prove enthusiasm. all of it, whispered orders from the puppet master. Private room doors slammed over and over, hoarse laughter blending into sounds that stopped being laughter and turned into raw panting, and the endless click-clack of locks. Anyone who dared frown or fake hesitation got shut down instantly with a voice cold as dry ice. If you didn't come here to be picked, what the hell are you even doing here? Meghan, according to the ex-staffer, never flinched once. She beamed like a spotlight was on her, played the game full throttle, did whatever the hell was asked, dropped to her knees the second the signal came, walked into the sealed room when her name was called, left her perfect smile hanging outside the door. Inside her head, there was only one thought looping on repeat. Tonight I have to be taken in there. I have to be used by someone who matters. I have to get my name on the golden list no matter if the price is my body and the last scraps of dignity I have left. The later it got, the more doors slammed shut, the more locks clicked like the final hinges of a cage snapping closed forever. Staff quietly worked the keycard elevators, shuffling bodies from room to room on whispered commands, slipping fat envelopes to drivers so they'd see nothing on the ride home. Morning cleanup happened in total silence. The stench of booze still clung to everything, braided together with the smell of skin and raw lust, soaked into curtains, carpets, every last breath of the night before. Some kids sat slumped in hallways, eyes hollowed out, lips swollen, hair glued to their cheeks with sweat and tears, stares empty like they just crawled out of a nightmare they never wanted to wake up from. They never called it an orgy. They called it private fun. But anyone who was ever in that room knows exactly what it was. The place where money and power buy everything, including the soul of a hungry young girl named Meghan, who was willing to sell herself dirt cheap just to climb one more rung. When Meghan heard every last detail read aloud by her shaking assistant, voice cracking, reading straight from the phone, her face went so pale you couldn't find a drop of blood left. Lips clamped so tight she was scared the confession would spill out on its own. She knew this guy was taking scattered fragments of truth and weaving them into a toxic tapestry lethal enough to burn her entire empire to the ground. Meghan's panic wasn't just fear, it was ice-cold, frantic calculation, like a cornered predator scanning for any possible escape route. Harry was outside the door, banging and begging. The therapist kept telling her to breathe, but inside Meghan's skull, the Madrid 2002 memories were flooding back full force, threatening to smash everything she'd spent years building. Meghan, hands trembling around her phone, eyes blood red, knew deep in her bones that this storm was only just starting. And this time, she wasn't sure she could control a single damn thing. Outside the internet was already boiling over. X, still Twitter to some of us, exploded. What the hell is Meghan hiding in Madrid? Maxwell doesn't lie. She knows everything. Drama YouTube channels turned every syllable of the letter into million-view content. And inside that house with the gorgeous lights, Meghan sat alone, clutching her phone like a lifeline, fully aware the hurricane had only just begun. Let's rewind to 2002. Meghan Markle is just a third or fourth year kid at Northwestern University in Chicago, double majoring in theater and international relations, but already seeing herself as a brand that needed a ruthless upgrade at any cost. She wasn't some starry-eyed innocent with sparkly dreams. This Meghan was ice-cold, calculating, knew exactly when to flash the perfect smile, who to lock eyes with, and was ready to sell literally anything. Smile, body, soul, if it bought her one more step up the ladder. That fateful casting wasn't for a school play. It was an underground auction block. Meghan walked into the room with steps she'd rehearsed in the mirror 1,000 times. Light but confident, shoulders angled just enough to show off the collarbone. Eyes direct but never defiant. Lips curved into that sweet spot that screams modest yet mouthwatering. Ghislaine Maxwell sat half hidden in the shadows, barely saying a word, just watching. One single glance was all it took for the verdict. This girl will do anything. Swallow any humiliation with a smile. Stay quiet when it counts. And she already knows the price tag on every single door. Maxwell approached like a seasoned venture capitalist. A couple of honey-sweet compliments. "You have such rare potential, darling." Then casually dangled the bait. "Short trip to Madrid. A few very exclusive events, massive for your career. Not everyone gets an invite like this." Meghan wasn't naive and didn't need a second to think. She knew this was the kind of once-in-a-lifetime golden ticket people kill for, and she wanted it so badly she ignored every screaming red flag. Maxwell's predatory stare, the half-smirk, the voice dripping with syrupy poison. In Madrid, she met Prince Andrew for the first time. Gray suit, polite small talk about her Hollywood dreams, but his eyes crawled from her neck down to her chest, down to her legs, then back up again, pricing a product. Meghan clocked it instantly. This was the final exam. Play nice, make him want her, keep her mouth shut forever. She answered just enough, smiled just enough, tilted her head just enough for Andrew to convince himself he'd discovered an unpolished gem. That same night after she'd left, Andrew leaned over to Maxwell, voice thick with excitement. "That girl, Meghan, bring her back. I want her alone next time." Maxwell nodded, lips curling into a smile that said she already knew exactly how this movie ends. Meghan didn't hear the words, but she felt it in her bones. She'd been selected. What followed was a series of respectable cover dates, lunch at chic cafes, private gallery tours, endless walks full of endless stories, all of it just packaging. Behind the curtain were the slamming doors of Soho House, the night she walked in beaming like a beauty queen, and walked out eyes red, lips swollen, dress slightly twisted, still wearing the innocent, "I'm just here to study" mask for the cameras back home. Meghan's Madrid 2002 wasn't study abroad. It was a brutal, accelerated boot camp in elite rules. Want to go high? Kneel low first. Want another invite? Make the people in charge very happy. Want to keep your spot? Learn to shut up and swallow tears like champagne. Meghan learned faster than anyone could have predicted. Terrifyingly fast. Smile when it's time to smile. Shut up when it's time to shut up. Open when it's time to open, and always look pure as driven snow for the university photographer's snapping, hard-working exchange student propaganda shots. Fast forward to 2025, when everything came crawling back into the light. A few old classmates still stammered the party line. Meghan was just on a normal exchange program. But the ones who lived in the same dorm, who watched her disappear all night and slink back at dawn reeking of expensive men's cologne clinging to her hair, they just whispered to each other, "Exchange program my ass." She exchanged her body, plain and simple. Maxwell, from her prison cell, still remembers every detail like it was yesterday. She remembers the ambitious young student who smiled at every demand, crossed every line without blinking, walked out of sealed rooms with a slight limp but head still held high like a queen. And now, just by dropping one name, one year, one address, she can make Meghan remember one simple truth: the past is never really buried. It just lies there quietly, waiting for the perfect day to be dug up and smashed straight into her face. After Maxwell's letter detonated across every newspaper and social feed like a toxic wildfire, Meghan didn't just sit there and take the beating. Oh, hell no. She's not the type to let anyone stomp all over the image she paid a fortune to lacquer into perfection. Meghan chose to respond, but in her trademark micromanaged, surgically precise way, dodging the cheap gutter drama she always pretends to be above. Instead of jumping into a screaming match, her reply was crafted by an army of overpaid PR wizards. Short, icy, written like a legal notice, shielding her without leaving a single crack that could be sued back through. On the Archewell website, her personal platform for self-canonization as a feminist saint, she posted, "Ghislaine Maxwell is an unreliable individual, and dragging my name into her narrative is nothing more than an attention-seeking stunt from behind bars." Sounds classy on the surface, right? But everyone saw the truth. Meghan didn't dare list Maxwell's actual crimes, didn't dare dive into that woman's ocean of filth, because that would only drag her own ass into the same swamp. She knows damn well that with her own scandal baggage, any punch she throws can boomerang and smash her in the face twice as hard. This wasn't wisdom. This was pure selfish calculation from someone desperate to stay spotless while her hands have been filthy for decades. To anchor public trust, or let's be real, to con the masses with carefully selected crumbs, she rolled out a series of hand-picked, everyday life details designed to cement the version of her past she wants everyone to swallow. Detailed Northwestern class schedules dropped like a perfect diary. Madrid exchange dates highlighted in bold public activities like student theater on tiny stages, and a parade of safe witnesses, doddering old professors who can barely remember their own names, classmates who haven't seen each other in 20 years, exchange program organizers who were probably paid to nod along, all swearing on their lives that Meghan was in Madrid purely for legitimate academic reasons, zero connection to any dark parties. But anyone with two brain cells could see. This wasn't the full truth. It was a smokescreen designed to make Maxwell look like a bitter liar, while Meghan paraded a verifiable life, spotless on the surface, but dripping with dark ambition and secret compromises she'll die before admitting. Meghan, lounging in her luxury villa, probably smirked at her screen, convinced she'd landed the knockout blow, that this calculated counterpunch would finally kill the storm. But oh, sweetie, reality isn't one of your Netflix specials. Right on cue, Maxwell's lawyer slithered out like a demon straight from hell and escalated the entire game to a nastier, deadlier level. At a short, razor-sharp press conference in a New York law office, camera flashes popping nonstop, the lawyer announced, "Ms. Maxwell is not speaking from mere memory. She once personally saw a CV on Meghan." And they leaned hard into the insinuation. Not the squeaky clean career resume Meghan loves waving around, but a social dossier. The shadowy, under-the-table document circulated among elite circles that details exactly who fits which room, who shows up where, and most importantly, who knows how to keep their mouth shut about the filthiest secrets. They even tossed in the deliciously vague phrase, "playing the adult game," like poisoned bait, no specific accusation, but enough for the entire internet to fill in the blanks with the wildest Madrid nights imaginable. Nights where Meghan probably played way past the line to climb the ladder. Suddenly, the whole narrative flipped like a switch. Meghan can have all the class schedules and certificates in the world, but Maxwell just hinted at a parallel shadow file. One, Meghan has spent her life trying to bury 6 feet under. And the most dangerous part, these kinds of dossiers don't need to be 100% accurate to destroy a brand like hers. They just need to sound plausible enough to plant doubt. And once that seed is in, the public turns on you fast. Drama YouTube channels detonated with new videos every hour. Is Meghan hiding something massive? What the hell is a social dossier? And why is she dead silent about it? Was Madrid 2002 really just studying, or the gateway to hell itself? Ghislaine Maxwell may be rotting behind bars, but she's still the undisputed puppet master working the strings from her cell, and she cranked the drama even higher by dragging Virginia Giuffre into the spotlight, not with crude accusations, but with sly, surgical precision that added crushing moral weight and forced the world to rethink the perpetual victim costume Meghan loves wrapping herself in. According to leaks cleverly seeded through friendly media and professional scandal diggers, late 2002 Virginia overheard a loaded conversation that mentioned Meghan's name and connected the dots to an old Chicago casting photo Maxwell kept like a dark trophy, proof of just how massive and disgusting her web once was. Virginia Giuffre, the most famous Epstein victim, the woman who actually lived through hell, abused since her teens, brave enough to stand up and name the monsters, became the emotional center of this chapter. Her mere presence turned the whole saga into a gut-wrenching morality play that painted Meghan as a cold-blooded opportunist against Virginia's genuine broken survivor. Picture the scene. Because the drama deserves to be cinematic, a quiet, ordinary Chicago cafe, harbor light, windows looking out onto busy streets, cars rushing by like life itself never stops. But inside, the air is heavy as an underground courtroom, with no judge, no jury, just raw truth hanging like smoke. Virginia sits alone, exhausted eyes staring out the window, hands clenched around a plain manila envelope she'd mailed to Meghan days earlier. Rough documents, photos, handwritten notes from her own nightmare inside the Epstein-Andrew machine. Virginia isn't calculating. She has no grand scheme. She's just clinging to the last scraps of kindness left after years of being crushed, hoping, praying that Meghan will listen to the warning and stay the hell away from Prince Andrew before it's too late, before she gets sucked into the same vortex of nights spent as a toy, forced into situations no human being should ever remember. Meghan shows up fashionably late. Of course, strutting in like her time is worth more than someone else's trauma. Expensive coat, face locked in guarded arrogance, looking like she's walking into a business negotiation for a fat deal instead of a conversation that could save a soul. No warm smile, not even fake empathy. Just sits down ramrod straight, eyes scanning Virginia like she's sizing up a weaker rival who might block her path. Virginia, voice trembling as the memories claw their way back, starts spilling what she overheard. Andrew called Meghan fresh meat, easy prey, laughing that she'd be the perfect shiny new trophy to show off to his rich friends. He bragged she'd be the ideal decoration in his collection. And once you're inside that circle with Andrew and his powerful buddies, there's no way out. You get swallowed whole by dirty secrets and compromises you can never scrub off. Meghan stays silent for a beat, not shocked, not processing the warning, just coldly calculating whether this helps or hurts her master plan, whether it threatens her ascension project. Then she answers, voice flat as a script read through. I think you've got it all wrong. Andrew has been nothing but kind to me. He opens doors, not the monster you're describing. And she doesn't stop there, face twisting into open contempt, like Virginia is just some jealous loser. Are you obsessed with him? Do you want his attention that badly? Or are you just trying to drag other people into the mud so you feel better about yourself? Those words slice Virginia open like razors, turning a desperate, pain-born warning into a sick joke, a pathetic conspiracy. Virginia chokes, tears streaming, mouth stammering, staring at Meghan. The ambitious girl she knows is walking straight into the same hell she barely survived. The abuse, being used as a plaything by the powerful fighting tooth and nail to reclaim a shred of dignity. But Meghan doesn't give a single care about tears or pain. She stands up abruptly, smooths her coat with crisp finality, ice cold like closing a failed business meeting. I don't need anyone ruining my opportunities. Keep your stories to yourself. No apology, not even a fake flicker of regret. She walks out without looking back, fake confident strut, leaving Virginia alone with a heart heavy as lead, crushed by total failure. Virginia never escaped that machine, but at least she tried to warn someone and got brutally slapped down by Meghan's selfish, inhuman frost. Later, in a tear-soaked, rage-filled interview, Virginia let it rip. Meghan Markle is a sociopathic bitch with the most calculating brain I've ever encountered. She'd sell her soul without blinking to climb. And she treats other people's pain like garbage. The story spread like a virus, turning Virginia into the ultimate symbol of real victimhood against Meghan the accused Ice Queen opportunist. The internet erupted. Virginia is telling the truth. Meghan is colder than a snake. And somewhere behind bars, Maxwell just smiled. She'd added another devastating layer to the drama. After the Virginia Meghan Cafe story got repeated on every platform, until it became emotional truth. The kind of truth that doesn't need documents, just enough drama for the mob to believe. Public attention swiveled to the so-called evidence Meghan had frantically thrown out to clear her name. And oh my god, the second tabloid bloodhounds and YouTube detectives ran a simple side-by-side, her proof collapsed in the most spectacular, humiliating way possible, exposing the sloppy staging of a woman who genuinely believes she's the smartest person in every room. First, the photo Meghan had proudly captioned, Madrid 2002, studying hard as ironclad proof she was only there for books. Suddenly, the uncropped original leaked, probably from someone still loyal to Maxwell's old network. The wider frame revealed everything she desperately sliced away: a plush private bar, mood lighting, and surprise, familiar faces from the Maxwell Epstein circle laughing and clinking glasses at what was clearly an exclusive party. The innocent study abroad caption now looked like the cheapest lie in history. No fancy forensic analysis needed. Just one uncrop turned her evidence into a screaming red flag. Why crop at all? What exactly is Meghan hiding in the full frame? Those powerful friends she never wants the world to know about. The internet detonated instantly. What the hell is in the rest of that photo? Hashtags like Second Meghan crop truth shot to the top of X, thousands of posts roasting her for the amateur hour editing. Second, the official exchange program confirmation email she paraded like an unbreakable shield turned out to be nothing but a cropped screenshot. Missing headers, missing reply chain, missing proper signatures. When tabloid sharks demanded the original for verification, Team Meghan dodged and weaved with awkward excuses about privacy and personal data protection, like they were hiding nuclear launch codes. That same night, the institution named, probably Northwestern or some exchange body, issued a cold, lawyer-written statement. They could not verify the circulating excerpt because it did not match any official record. Boom. The public didn't even need to scream, "Liar!" They just thought, if she's really innocent, why is the evidence chopped up like a bad horror movie? Why not release the full clean version and shut everyone up instantly? Classic move from a schemer who always hides the full truth behind carefully curated scraps. And right when suspicion exploded like gasoline on a bonfire, someone from inside Meghan's own camp, ex-assistant or fired PR staffer, who knows, finally crawled out of the shadows. Not dropping criminal bombs, just peeling back the curtain on the dirty machinery behind her saintly image. Anonymous interview in a trashy tabloid, spilling every detail, deliberate cherry-picking of facts, hired mouthpieces to spin lies, crafting safe versions of her past. Real enough not to collapse on day one, clean enough to sell to gullible fans. They described closed-door meetings where Meghan personally ordered cropping, deleting, airbrushing anything that could stain the brand, and manufacturing inspirational stories out of thin air. The final blow. Not everything she releases is fake, but it's never the whole truth, always missing the darkest parts only insiders know. Is Meghan hiding actual evil? Or just the ugly side of blind ambition, those filthy compromises with dark power to climb higher? And why does Maxwell know exactly where to poke to make Meghan go ghost white with a single word? The public is now more divided than ever. Drama YouTube channels exploding into pure gold content, raking in millions of views, dissecting every crack in Meghan's crumbling proof. An hour-long videos with titles like Meghan's fake evidence, cropped photos, and broken emails exposed, or Insider Spills, What is Meghan hiding? Comment sections raging. Professional liar. Maxwell may be evil, but at least she's not two-faced like Meghan. Somewhere in her Montecito palace, Meghan is surely grinding her teeth to dust, realizing every single one of her calculated moves is backfiring spectacularly, turning her into the internet's favorite punching bag. This isn't just a scandal anymore. It's a tidal wave ripping away every fake layer, exposing the scheming, selfish core of a woman who plays the eternal victim while playing dirtier than anyone else. Meghan finally learned the bitterest lesson. She can never beat Maxwell by arguing every single detail. Maxwell doesn't need ironclad documents, photos, sworn witnesses. All she has to do is toss one pebble into the lake, and the ripples do the drowning for her. Every time Meghan tries to explain, every time she throws out another half-baked proof crumb, she just looks more desperate, more guilty. Because where there's this much smoke, people will always assume there's a raging inferno. So she changed strategy completely. Shut up, stop explaining, stop rolling around in the mud. She staged a hyper-controlled online intimate talk, invite-only link sent exclusively to die-hard fans and friendly accounts. No major press, no tough questions, no public live stream. Perfectly staged production. Soft lighting, melancholy background music, Meghan in head-to-toe white. Eyes just teary enough to look vulnerable, yet regal. She delivered lofty, noble-sounding lines about young women's ambition, about the gray areas society only punishes women for, about how men get away with murder while women get crucified. Then she paused, looked straight into the lens, voice soft as silk but loaded with calculation. Some people only know how to exist by controlling other people's stories. I refuse to keep feeding them. Done. Zero mention of Madrid. Barely a nod to Maxwell. Nothing about Virginia. Nothing about the cropped photo or the broken email. Just that one line. Sounds proud and empowered, but in reality, it's the most blatant dodge in history. Meanwhile, Maxwell still sits in her cell, still perfectly capable of writing another letter, still able to drip a few more lethal details through her lawyer whenever she feels like it. She still owns the narrative, the very last power left to a woman who lost everything else. And every time she speaks, even if it's just one sentence, it's enough to make Meghan bolt awake at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat. Enough to make her fans avoid eye contact with each other. Enough to remind the entire world that this story is nowhere near over. Nobody has the full photo. Nobody has the original email. Nobody has the complete truth about Madrid 2002. All that's left are two things. Meghan keeps her brand by dodging, by crocodile tears, by pretty sound bites. Maxwell keeps the right to tell the story, and she'll keep telling it until her very last breath. The public never got the hard truth about Madrid 2002 or the Shadow CV, but this whole saga screams one thing loud and clear. In showbiz, the past never actually dies. It just waits patiently for the perfect moment to resurrect itself and bite you in the ass. Don't you get chills thinking that the hardworking student from back then is now sitting pretty in Montecito, flashing that megawatt smile for the cameras, while those 2002 Soho House doors never really slammed shut for good? And if it was all just fair exchange, like she claims, then why does the mere mention of Madrid turn her face the color of a corpse?